70% of UK wheat is contaminated with toxic fungal compounds, and nearly a third of it is deliberately sprayed with a chemical the World Health Organization calls a probable carcinogen, just days before it becomes your flour. That's over 1 million hectares of British wheat doused with weed killer right before harvest. If you've been baking for your family, making pancakes for your grandchildren, or simply using that bag of flour sitting in your cupboard right now, you could be slowly exposing yourself to substances linked to kidney damage, hormone disruption, and DNA strand breaks. While you trusted these household brands, they knew about this for years, and they said nothing. Today, we're exposing 5 flour brands sold across Britain that failed independent testing. Products that promise quality on the label, but delivered contamination in the lab. At the end, I'll show you 2 genuinely safe alternatives and how to spot the fakes in 30 seconds flat. Let's start with Britain's most trusted name in bread. Brand number 1, Hovis flour. You know Hovis. You've probably bought it, the brand that's been promising British families wholesome, honest flour for over 130 years. Their packaging screams heritage, their adverts sell nostalgia, but here's what their marketing team won't tell you. The Food Standards Agency forced Hovis to recall their granary bread flour after discovering it contained an undeclared allergen, malted barley flour, that wasn't listed on the label. For someone with a barley allergy or celiac disease, that's not a labeling oversight. That's a potential medical emergency sitting in your cupboard. And it gets worse. The Real Bread campaign recently filed formal complaints with trading standards because Hovis products labelled as wholemeal actually contain non-wholemeal wheat flour. That's not marketing spin, that's breaking the bread and flour regulations. They're charging you premium prices for a product that doesn't match what's on the packet. Current price, around £1.65 per kilogram at Tesco, but the deception runs deeper than one brand. Brand number 2, Asda own brand flour. Asda flour sits in millions of British kitchens. At just 78p for 1.5 kilograms, it seems like unbeatable value. But you're not saving money. You're paying to be misled. The Real Bread campaign filed a formal complaint with West Yorkshire Trading Standards after discovering Asda's farmhouse wholemeal bread flour contains white flour, not wholemeal. That directly violates Regulation 6 of the Bread and Flour Regulations, which states that wholemeal can only appear on products where all the flour is wholemeal. Asda's defence? They claimed the white flour was just dusting. The campaign's response was devastating. There's no exemption to the all flour must be wholemeal rule based on quantity. DEFRA confirmed to trading standards that the practice breaches the regulations. What Asda won't tell you is who actually makes their flour. They refuse to disclose their mill supplier. You have no idea where your flour comes from or who tested it. Current price, 78p for 1.5 kilograms. Just Essentials, 55p. But at least Asda is a known quantity. What about the discounters? Brand number 3, Aldi, the pantry flour. Aldi's The Pantry Flour is the go-to for budget-conscious families. At 70p for 1.5 kilograms, it's one of the cheapest on the market. But cheap has consequences. The Real Bread campaign filed a complaint with Peterborough City Council after discovering Aldi's Everyday Essentials wholemeal bread contained fortified wheat flour, which is white flour, not wholemeal. Aldi's excuse? The white flour was a processing aid used as a carrier for enzymes, emulsifiers, preservative, and flour treatment agent. Translation: they're bulking out your wholemeal with processed white flour and calling it a technicality. Here's what should concern you more. Academic research found Aldi and Lidl had the highest allergen recall rates among UK supermarkets. Lidl alone issued 37 recalls covering 62 products. When your supply chain prioritizes price over quality, your family pays the difference in risk. Current price, 70 pence for 1.5 kilograms. But surely premium brands do better. Brand number 4. Marriages flour. Marriages sounds artisan. The Heritage Mill branding suggests craft and care. Home bakers trust it for sourdough and specialty breads. But there's something they're not putting on the label. Consumer complaints revealed that Marriages adds fungal amylase to their domestic flour but doesn't declare it. They claim it's a processing aid exempt from labeling requirements. The FSA reportedly disagreed with this interpretation. Why does this matter? Fungal amylase accelerates fermentation. If you're making sourdough, you specifically want slow fermentation for flavor development. Marriages is undermining your baking without telling you. After complaints, they quietly introduced Chelmer white flour, specifically marketed as without processing aids for longer fermentation. That's an admission that their standard flour contains undisclosed additives. Current price, £1.50 to £2 per kilogram. Now, you might think organic protects you. Think again. Brand number 5, Tesco organic flour. You paid extra for organic. You trusted that little green certification symbol. You assumed it meant clean, pure, pesticide-free flour. Independent testing found glyphosate traces in Tesco organic plain flour. Let that sink in. The same herbicide that the World Health Organization classified as a probable carcinogen was detected in flour marketed as organic. The levels were below the quantification threshold, but they were there. How does a probable carcinogen end up in organic flour? Environmental drift from neighbouring conventional farms, cross-contamination in shared processing facilities, a certification system that checks boxes but doesn't guarantee purity. You're paying £1.70 per kilogram, more than double the price of standard flour, for a product that still contains traces of the very chemicals you're trying to avoid. Tesco refuses to disclose which mill produces their flour or publish pesticide test results. Current price, £1.70 per kilogram for organic. The system is broken. Here's what supermarkets don't want you to understand. Since Brexit, the UK has weakened pesticide safety limits for 115 types of produce. The UK now allows 36 pesticides that are banned in the EU. For some chemicals, UK limits are 7 times higher than European standards. The Pesticide Action Network found that nearly half of all UK bread now contains multiple pesticide residues, double the rate from a decade ago. The average British person consumes 66 kilograms of wheat flour every year. Even tiny contamination levels compound over time. But you don't have to accept this. Safe alternatives. If you want flour you can actually trust, you have 2 solid options. For the premium choice, Shipton Mill Organic White Flour. Number 4 is the gold standard, at £1.85 per kilogram. From their website or specialist retailers like Bakery Bits, it costs more than supermarket flour. But here's what you're paying for. Soil Association certification, which means annual inspections and the strictest organic standards in the UK. Traceable sourcing from farms focused on regenerative agriculture. A mill that's been operating since the Doomsday Book, with transparency about exactly where your grain comes from. They use heritage wheat varieties like Maris Widgeon, grown without synthetic pesticides or fertilizers. The price difference works out to about 35 pence extra per loaf. That's less than the butter you spread on it. For a budget-friendly option, Tesco Organic Strong White Flour at £1.70 per kilogram gives you certified organic flour at supermarket convenience. Yes, trace contamination has been detected, but organic certification still dramatically reduces your overall pesticide exposure compared to conventional flour. You get EU and GB organic certification, annual inspections, no synthetic fertilizers, and no GMOs. It's widely available at any Tesco, and it's club card discountable to around £1.55 per kilogram. The maths is simple. For an extra £1 per month, you can remove most pesticide exposure from your baking. Quick protection hacks. Here's how to protect yourself in 30 seconds at the shelf. First, look for certification symbols, not marketing words. The Green Soil Association logo means legally verified organic standards with annual inspections. The code GB-ORG-05 specifically means Soil Association certified. Words like natural, traditional, or farmhouse have no legal definition and mean absolutely nothing. Second, check the ingredients for flour treatment agents. This means additives were used. Organic flours either exclude treatment agents entirely or use only ascorbic acid. If you see E920, that's L-cysteine, which can be derived from duck feathers or human hair. Third, store your flour properly. Transfer it to an airtight container immediately. Keep it below 18 degrees. If it smells musty, sour, or bitter, bin the entire bag. You can't see mycotoxins, but your nose can detect them. The flour industry has been cutting corners while you've been trusting labels. Undeclared allergens, misleading wholemeal claims, pesticide contamination in organic products, and a regulatory system that's weaker than Europe's. But now you know. You know which brands failed testing, which ones broke regulations, and which ones actually deserve your trust. Which brand shocked you the most? Drop your experience in the comments. And if you want to watch another video like this one, click the video on the screen. Thanks for watching.